when enemies become allies. The night Marcus Williams found her, everything changed. He walked alone through the empty streets of Brooklyn's industrial district, trying to clear his head after the worst day he'd had in years. 2 shipments lost, rivals moving into his territory, his right-hand man questioning every decision. The pressure of running an empire was crushing him. Then he heard it, gasping, desperate, shallow breaths cutting through the silence. Marcus froze. Every instinct screamed at him to keep walking. He'd built his entire operation on one rule: never get involved with cops. Never. But his feet moved anyway. In the alley he found her. A white female police officer slumped against a dumpster, blood pooling beneath her torn uniform. Her face was pale as death, her eyes barely open. She was dying. Marcus stood over her, heart pounding. This was a nightmare. Helping a cop could destroy everything he'd worked for, but watching her die felt like betraying something deeper than his own survival. "Help," she whispered, so quiet he almost missed it. Their eyes met. She wasn't begging, she'd already accepted death. Somehow that made it worse. Marcus cursed and pulled out his phone. One anonymous call, then he'd disappear. Simple. But looking at her broken body, something shifted inside him. She wasn't just a cop. She was someone's daughter, someone who'd probably spent her whole life trying to do the right thing in a city that punished people for it. Just like his little sister Keisha had been punished. Dead at 19 from an overdose because dirty cops protected the dealer who killed her. "Damn it," Marcus muttered, shoving his phone away. He knelt beside the officer, his expensive shoes soaking in her blood. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes widened with recognition and fear. Even dying, she knew who he was. Marcus Williams, the most dangerous man in Brooklyn. "No," she gasped, trying to pull away. "Relax," Marcus said sharply. "I'm not here to finish the job." "You're Marcus Williams." "Yeah, and you're dying. So unless you want your last moments to be bleeding out alone, let me help you." He pressed his hand over hers against the wound in her side. She screamed in pain. "Who did this?" Marcus demanded. "Who?" Tears filled her eyes. "My own partner." The words hit him like a fist. "What?" "Set me up," she whispered. "I was investigating dirty cops. They found out, tried to silence me." Marcus's mind raced. A cop investigating corruption, executed by her own people. This wasn't just an attack. This was murder covered up by badges. How many others are involved? Her eyes started rolling back. "No," Marcus grabbed her face. "Stay with me. You don't get to die yet. I need names." Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Her body was shutting down. Marcus closed his eyes. He thought of Keisha. Sweet, beautiful Keisha, dead because cops took bribes to look the other way. He'd never gotten justice for her. Maybe he could get it for this woman. His eyes snapped open, burning with rage. He scooped her into his arms. She was too light, barely breathing. "You're not dying tonight," he said through clenched teeth. "Not like this." He pulled out his phone with one hand. "Tony, I need Dr. Chen at the safe house on Atlantic Avenue. Now, this is urgent." He hung up and looked down at the dying cop. "Because someone should have helped my sister, and nobody did." The safe house looked abandoned from outside. Rusted doors, broken windows, graffiti covering the walls. But inside was a full medical facility with everything needed to save lives that couldn't be explained in hospitals. Marcus kicked the door open, still carrying the cop. Her breathing was barely there. Her skin felt like ice. Tony was packing inside. His eyes went wide. "Boss, what the is that a cop?" "Is the doctor here?" "Yeah, but boss, you brought a cop to our safe house. Are you insane?" "Is the doctor here?" Tony nodded frantically. Dr. Chen appeared, medical bag in hand. He was 60, gray-haired, with steady hands that had seen everything. But even he paused at the police uniform. "Mr. Williams," Chen said carefully, "this is complicated." She's dying, Marcus said flatly. Fix her now. Chen had owed Marcus his life for years. He didn't argue. Get her on the table. Marcus laid her down under the bright surgical lights. The damage was worse than he'd thought. Bruises everywhere, deep cuts, the wound in her side dark and oozing. Chen worked fast, cutting away her uniform, inserting IVs, hooking up monitors. 3 broken ribs, punctured lung, internal bleeding. Tony pulled Marcus aside. Boss, think about this. She's a cop. When she wakes up, there'll be questions. And when the police realize she's missing, they'll come looking. Let them look, Marcus said coldly. But she was left to die by her own people, cops who are supposed to protect and serve. If that doesn't make you sick, you're not the man I thought you were. Tony went quiet. He'd known Marcus for 15 years, but he'd never seen this look in his eyes before. This rage, this purpose. What aren't you telling me? Tony asked. Marcus was silent. Then, she was investigating dirty cops. Her own partner set her up because she got too close to the truth. Understanding dawned on Tony's face. And you think those dirty cops might be connected to us? Marcus nodded slowly. Think about how many times we've paid off cops. What if the ones we've been paying are the same ones who tried to kill her? The implications hit Tony hard. If that was true, they weren't just dealing with one dying cop. They were sitting on a conspiracy that could bring down half the police force and expose every criminal organization paying for protection, including theirs. We need to know what she knows, Tony said urgently. I'll handle it, Marcus said. You make sure nobody followed us here. Double the guards. 20 minutes later, Chen emerged exhausted. She's stable, for now, but she lost a lot of blood. The next 24 hours are critical. Will she wake up? Eventually, but when she does, she'll want answers. Marcus walked into the recovery room. Tubes ran from her arms. Monitors beeped steadily. Her face was clean now, blood washed away. She looked younger than he'd thought. Maybe early 30s, dark hair pulled back. Even unconscious, there was something fierce about her. Marcus pulled a chair close and sat down. He didn't know why, but he stayed there watching her breathe. Hours passed. Finally, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small photo, worn leather frame, cracked glass. Keisha's face smiled up at him. 19 years old, frozen in time. He set it on the table. I couldn't save you, sis, he whispered. Maybe I can save her. The monitor beeped steadily. Then the woman's eyes fluttered. Her hand twitched. She groaned softly. Marcus leaned forward. Can you hear me? Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then sharp and alert. Where, she croaked, where am I? Safe house. You were dying, I brought you here. Recognition flashed across her face. Confusion, then anger. You. She tried to sit up and gasped in pain. The monitors beeped louder. Don't move. You just had surgery. Collapsed lung, 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding. You're lucky to be alive. She stared at him with suspicion and fear. Why would you save me? Why would Marcus Williams care if a cop lives or dies? Because your own people left you to die. And I don't like watching anyone get executed in an alley, even cops. Her face went pale, not from pain, from memory. My partner, Jackson, he shot me, left me there, said I should have minded my own business. Marcus's jaw clenched. What were you investigating? Tears filled her eyes, not from weakness, from fury. Corruption, payoffs, cops taking money from dealers, from people like you. Marcus didn't flinch, and you got too close. She nodded weakly. I had names, dates, records. I was going to turn it all in. That's when Jackson found out. He and 3 others cornered me after my shift, beat me, shot me, told me I was a liability. Her voice broke. They left me to die like garbage. Marcus stood slowly. Those names you collected, do you remember them? She looked at him warily. Why? Because if cops are dirty enough to kill one of their own, they're dirty enough to be on multiple payrolls. including mine, and I want to know who I've been doing business with." Understanding crossed her face. "You think the cops you paid off are the same ones who tried to kill me?" "I know they are, because this city isn't big enough for multiple corruption rings." She processed this. "So what now? You keep me here, kill me before I can talk." Marcus leaned closer. "Now you heal, you get your strength back, and then you and I are going to do something neither of us ever thought possible." "What?" "We're going to take down every dirty cop in the city, together." She laughed bitterly. "You're insane, you're a criminal, I'm a cop, we're on opposite sides." "Are we? Your side just tried to murder you. My side just saved your life. So maybe it's time to stop thinking about sides and start thinking about what's right." She stared at him, then asked, "What's your name? Your real name, not the legend. Who are you?" Nobody had asked him that in years. A man who's tired of watching this city eat people alive, just like you are. Her expression softened slightly. "My name is Sarah, Detective Sarah Bennett." Marcus nodded. "Well, Detective Bennett, welcome to the only place in this city where corrupt cops can't touch you." Sarah looked around. "I should hate you. I've spent 3 years trying to build a case against your organization." "I know, and when this is over you can go back to that. But right now we have a common enemy. Cops who think they're above the law, and I'm done letting them get away with it." Sarah was quiet, then, "Okay." "Okay." She met his eyes with determination. "I'll work with you, temporarily, to expose the corruption, to bring down Jackson and everyone involved. But when this is done, we go back to being enemies. Understood?" Marcus smiled grimly. "Understood." He extended his hand. She looked at it, then slowly reached out and shook it. In that moment, the most unlikely alliance in the city's history was born. 3 days later, Sarah could walk with help. She stood by the window, staring at the city that had betrayed her. "They're not even looking for me," she said bitterly. "They've already written me off." Marcus stood behind her. "That's because they want you dead. Finding you alive raises questions." "So what's your plan?" "I want names. Every dirty cop on your list. Every payoff you documented." She laughed harshly. "And then what? You eliminate them, that's not justice, that's revenge." Marcus's eyes went hard. "Don't lecture me about justice. I know exactly what the system protects. My sister Keisha died because cops valued money over lives." Sarah's expression shifted. "I'm sorry about your sister." "Don't be. Just help me make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else." The door burst open. Tony rushed in, face pale. "Boss, we've got a problem. Jackson and 6 other cops are surrounding this building." Sarah's blood went cold. "They found me." Marcus's mind raced. They'd been careful, someone must have talked. "Get her to the basement," Marcus commanded. "Protect her with your life." "What about you?" Sarah asked, alarmed. Marcus pulled a handgun, checked the clip. "I'm going to have a conversation with your former colleagues." "You can't fight them, they'll kill you." Marcus smiled coldly. "I've been fighting dirty cops since I was 16. They don't scare me." Tony grabbed Sarah's arm. "We need to move." Sarah resisted. "Wait, if you kill them, you're proving everything they say about you." Marcus met her eyes. "Maybe I am a monster, but I'm a monster who saves people. What are they?" Sarah had no answer. Outside, Jackson and his crew moved like professionals, weapons drawn, cold eyes. "If she survived, she's in there," Jackson said. "Find her, kill her and anyone who helped her." They approached the entrance. Jackson tested the door, locked. Before they could breach it, the door swung open. Marcus stood there, unarmed, hands visible. "Gentlemen, can I help you?" Jackson's gun came up. "Marcus Williams, step aside, we're looking for a fugitive." Marcus smiled coldly. "You mean the cop you left to die, except she didn't die, unfortunate for you." Jackson's finger moved to the trigger. "Where is she?" "Somewhere you'll never reach. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to lower your weapons and leave, and pray I don't make your corruption public." Jackson laughed. "You're threatening us, we're the law." Marcus's expression went ice cold. "You're not the law, you're criminals wearing badges, and the difference between you and me, I don't pretend to be something I'm not. Last chance, hand over Bennett or we come in shooting." Marcus didn't move. "Then you better make your first shot count." That's when the rooftops lit up. 20 men, all armed, laser sights pointed at Jackson and his crew. Jackson froze. His team looked around in panic, red dots dancing across their chests. "You were saying," Marcus asked calmly. Jackson's voice shook. "You're making a mistake. We have friends, connections. Walk away right now and you might survive the week. Come into my property and I promise you'll be in prison before dawn, or worse." The standoff held for 10 agonizing seconds. Finally, Jackson lowered his weapon. His team followed. "This isn't over," Jackson said through clenched teeth. "Agreed," Marcus replied. "It's just beginning." Jackson and his crew backed away. When they disappeared, Marcus's shoulders relaxed. Tony emerged with Sarah. "You just threatened 7 armed cops. Do you have a death wish?" "I have a strategy." "What strategy? You just made yourself a target." Marcus turned to face her. "Let them try, because here's what they don't know." He paused. "I've been recording everything, every payoff they took, every transaction, every meeting. I have proof connecting them to dealers, traffickers, murderers." Sarah's eyes went wide. "You've been documenting them just like I was." Marcus nodded. "The difference is I have the resources to protect my evidence." Sarah sat down heavily. "Why? Why would you collect evidence against people you were paying?" "Because I learned a long time ago. Never trust anyone you can't destroy." Sarah looked at him with new understanding. "You're not just a criminal, you're a strategist." Marcus smiled without humor. "In my world, there's no difference." Sarah stood slowly. "So what's the plan?" She stopped. Her eyes went to the window. Outside, the street was filling with police cars. 20 vehicles, 40 officers. Tony cursed. "Boss, we're surrounded." Marcus's jaw clenched. Jackson hadn't retreated. He'd called for backup. Sarah's face went pale. "They're going to storm the building, kill everyone, blame it on a shootout." Marcus pulled out his phone, made a call. "I need everything right now." He hung up and looked at Sarah. "How much do you trust me?" "Not at all," Sarah said honestly. "Good, because what I'm about to do will either save us both or get us both killed." Sarah looked at the police force gathering outside. Then she made her decision. "Okay, I trust you." Marcus grabbed a megaphone, stepped onto the warehouse catwalk where everyone could see him. "My name is Marcus Williams," his voice echoed across the courtyard, "and I'm here to expose the biggest corruption scandal in this city's history." He paused. "Every cop down there with a badge, ask yourselves, do you know who you're working with? Because some of your brothers aren't here to uphold the law, they're here to bury it." Sarah stepped beside him, visible to everyone, alive, proof that Jackson had lied. "Detective Sarah Bennett," Marcus continued. "Alive, despite the efforts of corrupt officers who tried to execute her for investigating their crimes." The crowd stirred, confusion spreading. Jackson's voice came over a loudspeaker. "Don't listen to him, he's lying." Marcus held up a USB drive. "This contains proof, bank records, recordings, evidence of 15 police officers taking payoffs, including the man giving you orders right now, Lieutenant Jackson." The night erupted into chaos. Some cops looked at Jackson with shock. Clean cops realizing they were standing beside corrupt ones. Trust shattered like glass. A voice called from the crowd, "Then let's verify it." Captain Helen Morrison pushed through. 50 years old, gray hair, 28 years on the force, incorruptible reputation. She looked up at Marcus. "Carter, you claim to have proof." Marcus held up the USB. 15 officers, 3 years of documented payoffs, all verified by Detective Bennett before she was nearly murdered. Morrison's eyes shifted to Sarah. "Bennett, you're alive." "Yes, ma'am, and everything Williams said is true. Jackson and 6 others tried to execute me because I discovered they were taking money from dealers." Morrison's jaw clenched. "That's serious." "I know. That's why I have 3 years of evidence." Jackson's hand moved toward his weapon. "Hands where I can see them, Jackson." Morrison's voice cracked like a whip. Jackson froze. Morrison's voice rose. "Nobody moves. If what Detective Bennett says is true, we have a cancer in this department, and I will cut it out." She looked back at Marcus. "I want that evidence, verified by independent investigators, federal." Marcus nodded, agreed on one condition. Morrison's eyes narrowed. "You're not in a position to make conditions." "I am when that evidence also implicates 3 city councilmen, 2 judges, and a deputy mayor. You want to clean up this city. We do it right. Federal investigation. Full immunity for Bennett and protection for both of us." Morrison was silent, then spoke into her radio. "This is Captain Morrison. I need FBI liaison immediately. Federal investigation into departmental corruption." Jackson's face went white. "You're making a mistake, Helen." "The only mistake I made was not listening when officers like Bennett tried to report corruption. That ends tonight." Internal Affairs officers moved forward, surrounding Jackson and his crew. One of the young dirty cops panicked, raised his weapon. "Don't," Sarah screamed. Too late, the shot rang out. Chaos exploded, officers diving for cover, returned fire from Marcus's men. Marcus grabbed Sarah, pulled her inside. "Move now." They ran as bullets shattered windows. Tony met them at the stairs. "Boss, east side is clear." Marcus shook his head. "We're not running, not anymore." He turned to Sarah. "That evidence you collected, where's the original?" Her eyes went wide. "In my apartment, hidden in the ventilation system." Marcus grabbed his phone. "Tony, I need a team at Detective Bennett's apartment. Riverside, Unit 4B, retrieve a package from the vent. Bring it here immediately." Sarah grabbed his arm. "Wait, if they find it first." "They won't, because they think you're dead. That's our advantage." Outside, the gunfire stopped. Morrison's voice boomed. "Cease fire, everyone stand down." Slowly, chaos settled. The dirty cop who'd fired was on the ground, wounded but alive. Jackson and his crew were in handcuffs. Morrison looked up. "Williams, Bennett, we need to talk." Marcus looked at Sarah. "Your call, do we trust her?" Sarah thought about Morrison's reputation, then nodded. "She's one of the good ones." They descended. Morrison stood waiting, flanked by Internal Affairs. "Bennett," Morrison said quietly, "when we found your badge and blood, I thought we'd lost one of the best." Sarah's throat tightened. "I'm sorry I didn't come to you sooner. I didn't know who to trust." Morrison's expression softened. "I understand. This department failed you, but we're going to make it right." She turned to Marcus. "Williams, I don't like you, but if what you're saying is true, you've just exposed the biggest corruption scandal in this city's history." A black SUV pulled up. FBI agents emerged. Morrison briefed them. One agent, a woman named Torres, approached Marcus. "Mr. Williams, we'll need your full cooperation." Marcus nodded. "You'll get it, but I want guarantees, protection for Detective Bennett, immunity, security until every corrupt official is in custody." Torres considered this. "You're asking for a lot." "I'm offering more. 3 years of documented corruption, evidence that will reshape this city." Torres extended her hand. "Deal. But if you're lying, I will personally ensure you spend the rest of your life in federal prison." Marcus shook firmly. "I'm not lying, because unlike the cops who tried to kill Detective Bennett, I actually want to see justice done." Tony arrived 20 minutes later, breathing hard, carrying a sealed envelope. Sarah took it with trembling hands. "This is everything, 3 years of work." Torres took it carefully. "We'll need time to verify this." Sarah's voice was urgent. "We don't have time. Jackson isn't working alone." Torres' expression was grim. "Then we work fast." Jackson screamed from where he was handcuffed. "You're protecting the enemy." Morrison walked over. "No, Jackson, we were the enemy. We took an oath to protect and serve, and we broke it." She turned her back on him. "Take them away." As the transport vehicles drove away, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. She looked at Marcus, a criminal who'd saved her life, who'd risked everything to expose corruption. "Thank you," Sarah said quietly. Marcus's expression was unreadable. "Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. The people at the top aren't going to let this go quietly." Sarah nodded. "I know, but now we have federal protection, evidence, people who will listen." Marcus looked at the city skyline. For the first time in years, he felt something other than cynicism. "Maybe things can actually change," he said. "Maybe," Sarah agreed, "but it starts with us, with people willing to fight even when the system is broken." Marcus smiled grimly. "Then I guess we're in for one hell of a fight." 3 weeks later, the city exploded. 15 cops arrested, 3 city councilmen indicted, 2 judges facing federal charges, a deputy mayor resigning in disgrace. The corruption scandal made national news. Sarah stood in Captain Morrison's office, now promoted to lieutenant, badge restored, reputation rebuilt. "You did good, Bennett," Morrison said. "Damn good." Sarah felt pride, but also exhaustion. "It's not over yet. There are still corrupt officers out there." Morrison nodded. "Then get to work, Lieutenant." Sarah left the office. Outside, Marcus was waiting, leaning against his car, looking dangerously out of place at a police station. "You came," Sarah said, surprised. Marcus shrugged. "Figured I owed you a proper goodbye." Sarah studied him. "So what now? You go back to your empire?" Marcus was quiet, then, "Actually, I'm retiring." Sarah's eyes went wide. "What?" Marcus smiled without humor. "Turns out exposing corruption is bad for business. And honestly, I'm tired of the violence, the lies, the endless game." "So what will you do?" Marcus looked at the sky. "Something different, something that actually helps people, like you do." Sarah's chest tightened. "Williams." "Michael, my real name is Michael Grant." Sarah blinked. "You've been using an alias this whole time." Michael smiled. "In my world, real names get you killed, but if I'm starting over, I should start with the truth." Sarah extended her hand. "Then goodbye, Michael Grant, and thank you." Michael shook her hand, then pulled her into an unexpected hug, brief but genuine. "Take care of yourself, Sarah. Make this city worth saving." Sarah watched him drive away, disappearing into traffic, a criminal who'd become an ally, an enemy who'd become a friend. She turned back to the station, her badge heavy on her chest, the city still broken, but healing. One arrest at a time. Across town, Michael sat in his empty mansion, looking at the empire he was dismantling. Keisha's photo sat on the desk. Forever 19. "Maybe I finally kept my promise," he whispered. "Maybe I finally made things right." All these years he'd carried this guilt, the weight of failing her, but saving Sarah, exposing the corruption that had protected Keisha's killer, it didn't erase the pain. It never would. It just proved that even in a city this broken, justice could still find a way. Outside, the city continued, corrupt officials being arrested, honest cops rising through ranks, a system slowly, painfully being rebuilt. And 2 people, a detective and a former crime boss, had proven that sometimes justice doesn't come from the system. It comes from people brave enough to fight for it, regardless of which side of the law they stand on.